The FE exam study process it's pretty long, and it's a very intensive process. As you may know, it is a 6.5 hour long exam taken online. Any 6.5 hour long exam is bound to be fairly intensive. I was a naturally good test taker, and even I struggled with the 6.5 hour long time frame. There are a lot of things that you can do in advance to prepare for the FE exam. And some of that is the reason why we're putting together this course. So let's talk about some study tips. Now, the most important study tip that I can give you for preparing for the FE exam is get comfortable with the equations sheet. There's an instruction in this course on how to download the equations booklet. NCEES offers the equations booklet to you for free as a PDF download. You can obtain it from that location. I would advise that you obtain that book early and spend some time reading it. It's very dry material, but understanding what's in the booklet is important to you because you need to know how to find those equations so that you can use them on the examination. You are not expected to memorize every single equation that you will use on the FE exam. Instead, this is the resource that is provided to you to give you all of the equations that you do need. Having familiarity with the equations booklet will automatically make you a better candidate for the FE exam because you will know where to go to look for those equations rather than sitting during the test trying to figure out which equations might be accurate, might be valid, might be present. So the more time you spend getting familiar with the equations booklet, the better you will be as a person. Okay? Now, I will give you a caveat here. Not all of the equations in the booklet are helpful. If you're going to take the mechanical engineering exam, you probably won't be needing any equations from the civil engineering portion. You probably won't need any equations from electrical or from environmental or from chemical. So depending on what emphasis area you're taking for your FE exam, you may be able to completely ignore certain sections of the booklet. And it's important for you to identify that early on so that when you get to the day of the test, you aren't frantically looking through the book trying to figure out why some equations are present that you don't know. Okay? So, equations booklet is always number one. This is the most important way to do this. The second thing that I would advise that you do is take a practice exam. And I wouldn't say just taking a practice exam. You can take a practice exam and it wouldn't help you at all if you just bubble in the multiple choice questions. It'll show you the format of what the exam is going to be, but it's not really going to help you as far as getting ready for the exam as a whole. What I would say is time yourself. Only use the equations booklet that you have given to you by NCEES, which means you should have studied this before you even take your first practice exam. That way, when you do take the practice exam, you can go to the booklet, find where those equations are, and use them. Okay, you may also need to be obtaining values that are present in tables from the equations booklet. You need to know where those are. You may also be needing to use conversion factors that are present in the table that are in the equations booklet. You will need to know how to use those too. There's a lot of ways that being familiar with the equations booklet will help you take the practice exam. Now, once you've taken a practice exam, you will know with some degree of certainty where your weak points are, because it'll be the topics where you felt the least comfortable with the material. Okay? Once you identify the areas where you are least comfortable, then the goal is to actually spend some time studying those areas. And you may be somewhat comfortable in an area, and you should spend a significant amount of time studying those too. Some advice that I have heard is that you need to spend the most amount of time studying the things that you know the most about, but you think you can excel in. Spend some amount of time studying things that you were not yet exposed to. Spend some amount of time focusing on the things that you do think you are good at. But spend the most amount of time on the areas that you should know, but you kind of struggle with. If you know that they are weak points, but you know that you can figure them out, they can be a really good chance for you to get some knowledge about those types of areas. Okay. Another thing you're going to need to identify is identify the relative worths of each of these study areas that you're going to be dealing with. Now, I've put a table up in this course that describes the relative worth of each of these sections. The sections that have the most worth are probably the sections that you need to be spending the most time studying. You'll have most of the math sections, math and statistics, cover at least 10% of the FE exam. You should spend approximately 10% of your time studying those areas, because you will get an obscure math question. You will get a math question that focuses on a specific topic that requires some critical thinking. And you may not have experienced that topic for many years. So, first of all, you gotta go look and see if there's something that'll help you in the equations booklet. But second of all, understand whether or not it's worth your time to even study. If a certain section, if you're not comfortable with a certain section and it's only 4 to 5% of the overall test, it may not be something that you spend very much time on at all. Focus on the areas where you're not comfortable, where it matters a lot, and you feel like you can do well. Okay, and once you've done all this, I would suggest watching YouTube videos. Watch example problems. Because watching example problems being done will help you understand the reasoning and help you really engage those problems well. Hearing it from a variety of sources, well, quite frankly, there's a certain way that we do things here at Don't. Not everybody does them that way. Not everybody uses the same notations that we do. Seeing other types of notations, hearing other professors will give you a broader perspective, because they may have different approaches to taking problems. They may have a different way of explaining a problem that may make more sense to you than the way we taught it. Okay? So, these are my best studying tips for how to prepare for the FE exam. I would say use the materials that we provided in this course as best as possible. We're still developing this course as of the time we're making this video. We're working on adding new content sections, adding different things that you can engage with as a student, learn more about. But engage the material that we have provided you, because you gotta be ready. And the more time you spend in preparing for this, the higher percentage probability you have of passing.